Is marriage the secret to everlasting happiness or a one-way ticket to misery? An intriguing paradox, isn't it? As we delve into the intricate tapestry of marriage, we'll see it's not as black and white as many of us believe. Marriage, the social contract that binds two individuals in a personal relationship, often comes with a weight of expectations. We've all heard tales spun around the concept of happily ever after. But let's face it, life is not a fairy tale, and marriage is no exception. People enter into this bond with a heart full of hopes and dreams, believing that their partner is the key to a lifetime of joy. Yet not all marriages follow this script. Some, initially filled with warmth and happiness, gradually turn sour, leaving behind a bitter taste of disillusionment. So what happens when the happily ever after turns into "I can't stand you anymore"? Meet John and Jane, a couple who thought they were destined for a lifetime of bliss. These two were once the epitome of young love, starry-eyed and full of dreams for their shared future. They were inseparable, believing that their bond was unbreakable. Yet, as with many couples, they found that the reality of marriage was a far cry from their fairy tale expectations. John, a dedicated career man, and Jane, a passionate artist, were madly in love. But as time passed, they slowly grew apart. Their once harmonious union began to show signs of strain. The love that once seemed invincible began to wane, replaced by a chasm of silence and resentment. One of the main culprits was a lack of communication. They stopped sharing their dreams, their fears, their day-to-day experiences. Conversations became transactional, revolving around bills, chores, and schedules. The emotional intimacy they once enjoyed was lost in the mundane routine of life. Different life goals also played a part in their growing divide. John was focused on climbing the corporate ladder, often putting work before his relationship. Jane, on the other hand, wanted to explore her artistic passions, feeling stifled and unfulfilled in their suburban life. Their dreams, once intertwined, were now pulling them in opposite directions. In the end, it was the everyday pressures of life that caused the most damage. Financial stress, work pressures, and unmet expectations created a toxic environment that slowly eroded their relationship. They stopped being each other's support and instead became sources of stress for one another. Sadly, their story is not uncommon. Many couples, no matter how in love they start, struggle to navigate the challenges that come with marriage. It's a sobering reminder that love, while a beautiful and necessary part of any relationship, isn't always enough to sustain a marriage. Despite the love they once had, John and Jane couldn't navigate the challenges that came their way. Their tale serves as a poignant example of how even the most promising of relationships can falter when faced with the harsh realities of life. Now let's shift gears and look at Raj and Simran's story. Their marriage was arranged by their families. Unlike the lovebirds we discussed earlier, Raj and Simran didn't have the luxury of a whirlwind romance or the spark of love at first sight. They were thrown together, bound by tradition and respect for their elders, and expected to build a life together. Their families believed they were a perfect match. Raj, a software engineer, and Simran, a school teacher, both hailed from respectable families, held good jobs, and shared similar cultural backgrounds. It all looked perfect on paper. However, as they say, marriage is not a math problem easily solved with the right formula. It's a complex, intricate dance that requires more than just shared backgrounds or good jobs. Raj and Simran tried their best. They made efforts to understand each other, to find common ground, to build a relationship from scratch, but as days turned into months and months into years, they found themselves grappling with a void. The lack of initial spark was replaced by a growing chasm of misunderstanding and incompatibility. Their conversations were filled with awkward silences, their interactions burdened by unfulfilled expectations. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't bridge the gap. Their marriage, which began as a hopeful journey, started to sour. The respect and understanding that are essential to any relationship were missing. The love that was supposed to grow with time was nowhere to be found. Their story is a poignant reminder that a successful marriage can't be arranged solely based on societal norms or family expectations. It requires a deep understanding, a shared vision of life, and above all, compatibility. Even with the best intentions, Raj and Simran's marriage couldn't survive the test of compatibility. So, what went wrong in these marriages? And more importantly, can it be avoided? What we've seen from our case studies is that there are common themes that often result in marital discord. One of the most prevalent issues is lack of communication. Without open and honest exchanges, misunderstandings can quickly escalate into full-blown arguments. Remember, a conversation is a two-way street. Then we have differing life goals. Imagine being on a journey with someone, but you both want to end up in completely different places. Sounds challenging, doesn't it? That's exactly what happens when couples don't align their life aspirations. Next up, we have the lack of understanding. It's about being empathetic, patient, and caring. You're not just sharing a home, you're sharing your lives. And finally, compatibility issues. We're not just talking about hobbies and interests here. It's about values, beliefs, and visions for the future. Understanding these factors can be the first step in preventing a marriage from turning sour. So, is marriage a blessing or a curse? This question, as complex as a labyrinth, has been our focal point today. We've delved into the paradox of marriage and how it can be both a haven of love and a battleground. We've walked through two distinct case studies, observing the lovebirds whose affection faded into resentment, and the arranged match that struggled to find common ground. What we've learned is that every marriage is as unique as a snowflake. It's a canvas painted with the hues of understanding, communication, and shared goals. It's a journey that demands constant navigation, where both individuals must steer the wheel together through calm seas and tempestuous storms alike. Marriage isn't a one-size-fits-all concept, but rather a tailor-made suit, cut and stitched to fit two individuals. The key to a successful marriage lies not in perfection, but in the shared commitment to make it work. In the end, whether a marriage is a path to happiness or misery, it's largely up to the two people involved.